I'm Gennike Mayers. I am originally from Trinidad, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, but I live in the tiny island of Tobago. I am passionate about languages. That has been the love story of my life. And as I like to say, language opens doors, language bridges barriers. So it's great to be here with you, Behi, having a conversation, bridging barriers across the globe.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that the opportunity to be able to be able to talk to you and to share this space together. This is very important for me. Like we usually do here, we try to know who we have in front of us because this podcast is dedicated to African diaspora. So for this reason, we are intentional about our origin, where we are coming from. It's not a mistake at all. We're intentional about that. Is some of the things I'm going to be asking you, so it can help also the people that are listening to us. So let's start from the basis. Where were you born? Tell me what you see around you in those places. Give us a little background of yourself as a young person.
Sure. So you speak about the African diaspora. So the history of my region, the Caribbean region, is basically a history that would have been forged for many centuries in slavery. The transatlantic slave trade brought our African ancestors to the Caribbean to work on the mainly sugarcane plantations. And so I live in what is a former British colony, Trinidad and Tobago, which got its independence from Britain in 1962. And so we've had, well, of course, before the arrival of our African ancestors, the Amerindians, those are the indigenous Indians who lived here at the time when Columbus would have rediscovered, and we are very intentional when we say Columbus did not discover the Caribbean, he rediscovered the indigenous peoples who were already living here, living in harmony in the Caribbean when he came. But fast forward to the now. So the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, as I said, is a former British colony. Um, we are quite small on the global scale. We're just about 1.4 million in population. That's probably the equivalent of a small African city, but that's our entire country. And it's split between two islands. The larger island, which is Trinidad, which is a more um, industrial and commercial, and Tobago, a small island, just 60,000 people living here. That's like tiny, tiny little village somewhere, right, in Africa. And tourism is is the focus of the economy here in Tobago. And as a country, a twin island republic, we are a small player on the international oil and gas scene. We produce oil and gas. So as small as we are, we get to hang out with the big players in that particular industry, though we have been making efforts to diversify into agriculture, agro-processing, financial services, tourism, as I mentioned, and to really get away from the fossil fuel industry. So that's sort of the economic background of my country. You asked, what does it look like? Well, we're a tropical Caribbean island, so yes, you can close your eyes and just imagine the aquamarine blue waters, the coconut trees, green everywhere, lots of exotic wildlife, flora and fauna. In particular in Tobago, if I look out my window right now, I don't want to make you jealous, but it's a sea of green. It's just a sea of green, all kinds of different trees, and this is the hour when the birds are out feasting on the tropical fruits. They're waking up to the day. So I live in a paradise.
That's lovely. That is good to hear. That is really good to hear. All right, now tell me about um, your adolescent years. So, uh, growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, uh, tell me a bit about your young adolescent year. What do you remember of that period?
Well, I'd have to say the first memories that come to mind, sincerely, are very troubled. I think I was quite a troubled adolescent. I did have a hard time adjusting. But what kept me anchored, I would say, in school was I discovered foreign languages. I started learning French and Spanish at the age of 10. And that, now with my adult hindsight, I can say that must have been an escape for me. I felt like I was able to discover new countries and cultures, and even take a journey inwardly to myself through foreign languages. And so for 7 years, because I guess that we've inherited the British education system, so it's 7 years or 5 to 7 years of high school. And for those years, I thoroughly enjoyed my experience of learning foreign languages, foreign music, things that really allowed me to escape from my reality at the time that was a bit troublesome.
What do you mean troublesome? Can you explain that? Yeah.
So at the time, my parents were going through a divorce. I am the eldest of three siblings, and I felt like I really had the weight of the world on me. Also having the weight of sort of sheltering my younger siblings at the time, through that period that my parents were going through. For anyone who has been in a family where there's separation or divorce, you would know that it's not a pleasant experience. And while, of course, adults make these decisions for themselves, it does affect the family structure, it does affect the children. So when I say it was a troublesome period, I don't want to go into detail, but I was a very troubled adolescent. On the flip side of that, though, as I said, I think the school experience was able to ground me, and learning foreign languages was a way to escape my reality and really almost take on a new persona, because even in my later years, I recognize that when I speak a foreign language, I am channeling a different personality. I am almost not the same person when I'm speaking French compared to when I speak Spanish or English. I'm not schizophrenic, but there is just something about the language that embodies an entire culture. And it's almost as if you put on a garment of culture when you adopt that language. And that has been the case, it still is the case, in my profession now as an interpreter. When I put on my French brain, my voice, my tone changes, my voice is different, my pace is different, I'm thinking differently. So um, I can say it now as an adult, looking back at my adolescent time, that is something that would have molded me. Learning languages certainly molded me, molded my way of thinking, my perspective of the world, because I was through reading, through listening, to interviews and news in a foreign languages, you're literally filtering the world through those languages.